Part 73. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 727. Father Jiang's voice was a bit tired, from childhood to old. What do you want? We are not satisfied with you. Let you help your brother, the doctor said that you will be fine. How can you be so selfish? Say your brother dislike you. Have you really treated your brother sincerely? Did you come to visit him while he was hospitalized? Because of the fear of surgery, did you treat your mother like this? Did your dog of conscience eat? Zhang Tiantian was the first time to see Father Zhang being furious, but at this moment she was not afraid at all. She has seen more of her parents' routines on Zhang since she was a child. Deceive, what about you? What about your conscience? Having two daughters is a tool for sons. Do you still have humanity? Zhang Tiantian still shouted, who dares to let me go to the operating table today? Whoever asks me to go up, I will call the police, and I will let the police take you all away. Yanj said at this time, sister, my brother needs you now. If you don't help your brother will die. If you help him, okay, you won't be at all. I have lived well for so many years. It's not what you think. You shut up. Zhang Tiantian stared at Yan Ji with a sneer and yelled, you fool, do you think you are really good? Look at your idiot now, you were really sold by them and helped counting money. I won't take my own life like that for a sick seedling that would have died. Dad, there was another voice at the door. It was Zhang Jian. He could not wait for the doctor on the operating bed for a long time, and listened to the nurses rumblingly that something had happened on the other side of the ward. Then he was in a wheelchair and pushed by the nurse. Zhang Tiantian's words were clear to him. When Zhang Tiantian saw Zhang Jian, his arrogance seemed to be poured into a basin of water, and he calmed down instantly. She opened her mouth to explain, but immediately squeezed her lips tightly, only guilty of guilty conscience, did not dare to see Zhang Jian. To Zhang's father's surprised eyes, Zhang Jian's face was very calm. Dad, I don't do this operation. Father Zhang looked at Zhang Jian. The eyes of the father and son confronted each other in the air. It took a long time before he nodded slowly. This nod, as if his shoulders were bent, the whole man looked extremely decadent. Yanj said, Dad, brother's surgery can't be delayed anymore, otherwise the doctor will check it again for me. Maybe my body has reached the standard. Brother, don't worry, even if today my body is not up to standard. I eat well, and it will be okay after a while. The words and deeds of Yanj became a sharp contrast with Zhang Tiantian. For the first time, Father Zhang looked to Yanj with gratitude. Good boy. He sighed, let's go take your brother back first. Zhang Jian returned to the intensive care unit again, and Yanj urged his father to go to see Jiang's mother first, and she would take care of Zhang Jian here. Father Zhang nodded and spoke a few words with Zhang Jian before leaving. Brother, don't worry, wait for me to eat well during this time, and my body is up to standard. My brother can have surgery, my brother will be fine. Zhang Jianding looked at Yanj for a long time, and then reached out and touched Yanj's head, muttering distressed, what a silly girl. Yanj choked his hand, I'm not stupid at all, I have learned everything you taught me, and I'm smart. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 728. Zhang Jian laughed, following the words of the song, well, Anan is the smartest. Yan Ji slightly raised his head and looked at him, brother, you don't care about this, it sounds fake. Zhang Jian laughed, smiled, and then reached out and touched the head of the song, and his eyes were gradually replaced by anxiety. He was not afraid of death, and struggled on the death line from an early age. In fact, death was a relief for him. But he was gone. What did this silly girl do? No one will distress her. No one would love her. Once she is worthless, let alone Zhang Tiantian, who is the father and mother of Zhang, will sweep her out. He didn't teach her a few words or take her to the outside world. What would she do when she got there? This night, for the Zhang family, it was destined to be a sleepless night. Especially Zhang mother, the kettle was the boiling water that the nurse had just put in the morning. The boiling water was very hot on her head and face, as long as the exposed skin was burned. But she was lying on the bed, totally unconscious of her injuries, and all her heart was her children. As for Father Zhang, let alone, he and Mother Zhang have embraced each other to the present. Most of the time, two people cry together because of the child's despair. This kind of suffering goes on. Feelings are not a substitute for children. He watched Zhang mother hurt like that, and it really strangled Zhang Tianxian's heart. As for Zhang Tiantian, she did not dare to stay in the hospital, and did not dare to go home. She was afraid that she would be taken to the operating table by her parents. She simply took a taxi to a friend's house. Talking to a friend and thinking that you are too stupid, how can you leave Jiang's house without taking such a dime? So I called the family maid and learned that Zhang's father, Zhang's mother, didn't go home. She took her friend home and packed away all the valuable things in her house. In the room, the cash and gold in the safe were also rolled away. Mother Zhang has been worried that she and Zhang's father were running around with Zhang Jian from all over the world, and maybe someday it would hang up in an accident, so the password of the safe at home and the passwords of various bank cards told Zhang Tiantian early. They never thought that one day such things would hang on to themselves. When Yanj woke up in the middle of the night, he found that Zhang Jian had been looking at her sideways. She rubbed her eyes and asked, "Brother, do you want to go to the bathroom? Or is it uncomfortable?" Zhang Jian shook his head. He seized Yanj's hand to quilt him, "Anan, marry me." Yan Ji looked at him with a surprised look. "Brother, what nonsense do you say? I'm your sister." "You are not my sister," Zhang Jian said, "your account is not in my Zhang family. Everything in the Zhang family has nothing to do with you. Anan, if you marry me, you are the Zhang family. You can rest assured, I'm your brother, and I won't do anything to you. I just want to wait until I go. You are the least, they will not be useless in their eyes." Zhang Jian has thought about this many times over and over again. It is undeniable that he has his own selfishness, but he also wants to leave her a trail. What he didn't tell Yanj was that he also wanted to freeze his sperm, and designated her to be the only one who could take it. In this way, the father Zhang who valued his descendants would not despise her. Yan Ji's eyes were still confused, but she looked noisy to Zhang Jian, but she nodded, "Do you want to marry me?" You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 729. Before Zhang Jian responded, Yanj said, "If my brother wants to marry me, then I will marry my brother." Yes, he certainly thinks. He was thinking long and long ago whether he could marry her. However, his body is not safe, and where can he marry her? Zhang Jian's lips moved, and in the end, she just asked her, "Is it cold? Why don't you sleep next to me?" Yanj sleeps in a relatively small accompanying bed, right next to Zhang Jian's bed, which is convenient for taking care of Zhang Jian at night. She shook her head, "It's not cold, brother, let's go to sleep." The chicken expressed his contempt for Zhang Jian's behavior of dying and yanking his words, "If you want to marry you, and you still use this excuse, this Zhang family really has nothing good." Alas, a girl as poor as the host was taken into the wolf's den. Yanj is undecided. Personality determines fate. From Yanj's point of view, as long as people live, they are struggling in the wolf's den. Everywhere is sure a field, depending on their attitude. Zhang Jian still can't sleep well. He always feels that he will not live long, and he has begun to arrange his own funeral, even thinking about making a will. Father Zhang has been taking care of Mother Zhang. Although he learned from the nurse that Zhang Tiantian had left the hospital, he ignored the matter. Now he is irritable when he hears the words Zhang Tiantian, and can't wait to hear the name again. When Zhang Jian and his father discussed his future affairs, his father, who was always silent during this time, suddenly burst into tears. Since he had a son, he devoted most of his life to his son. For this son, he does not have his own personal life, and the whole person's life is a matter of his son. Now, seeing that his son can have light, he will be sentenced to death. He refused to accept and was not willing. He has always been the backbone of the family, and now he is crying with his son in his arms. Zhang Jian comforted him, "Dad, I can come to the present. It has been a stolen time. You and my mother and Anan have helped me to the present. I am very satisfied." Yan Ji gave her father and son 2 private moments, and she went out and went to the mother's ward. When Mother Zhang saw Yanj, she immediately asked, "Where's your sister? Where did your sister go? You'll find her soon, and I'll persuade her." Yanj said, "Tian left the hospital yesterday. I don't know where she went." Mother Zhang scolded angrily, "If you are an elder sister, why don't you look at her, and what should she do if she goes out to have a long and short one?" Yan Ji was so trained by her, her eyes instantly turned red. "Mom, don't be angry, I'll go find my sister." Then the words turned and left. Yanj said when she looked, she cried in the corridor for a long time, and wandered for a long time in front of Zhang Jian's door, but eventually did not knock on the door, but said to the nurse who often took care of Zhang Jian, "My sister was discharged from the hospital now, my mother wants me to find my sister. If you go into my brother's ward for a while, remember to tell him, and when I find my sister, I will come back and take care of him soon." The nurse nodded. She didn't know the status of Yanj, and didn't think that there was anything wrong with Yanj going out to find her younger sister. She just remembered the words clearly. Yan Ji then left the hospital downstairs. Zhang Jianyi discussed his condition with Father Zhang and the doctor throughout the day. It was not until the evening that he realized that the song had not appeared for a long time. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 730. Zhang Jian was busy asking if Father Zhang had the driver send Yanj home. Father Zhang could take care of 2 patients by himself. At this time, he would not send the words back. Yan Ji has never been anywhere else, Zhang Jian doesn't think she will leave the hospital. The nurse just came in to take Zhang Jian's body temperature, and when he heard Zhang Jian asking about his father's song, he spoke the words to her uncle. Not only Zhang Jian, but even his father was shocked. Father Zhang immediately took out his mobile phone and called his mother Zhang, asking whether Zhang mother let Yanj go out to find Zhang Tiantian. What to do if you don't find it, only Sweet can donate bone to Jian Jian. She is an elder sister and can't even see her sister. Even if she doesn't take good care of her body, she is also healthy and sweet. Father Zhang couldn't understand why Mother Zhang was so confused, and hasn't been alone since she was a child. You let her go out to find someone? Why do you have this idea? This is his wife, and he is still in the hospital bed. Father Zhang blushes with anger, but still does not swear out. Father Zhang opened the hands-free, Zhang Jian heard it clearly, and Father Zhang hadn't hung up yet. He said, "Dad, let people check the hospital's monitoring first to see when Anan went out." Father Zhang nodded and turned to leave, but Zhang Jian shouted at him, "Dad, I'll go with you." Father Zhang knew the leader in the hospital, and it was easy to check and monitor. Yan Ji went out early in the morning, and watched the monitoring picture when she left Jiang's mother's ward, and she clearly cried. Zhang Jian looked at the weak and thin words in the monitor, and his forehead was so angry. "I'll call the police right now," Zhang said. "Jian, don't worry. Even if she doesn't know the way, she will ask people. It's impossible to get lost. Maybe it's going home to find sweet. Father Zhang immediately called home. Yanj didn't go back, but Zhang Tiantian went back and dragged off 2 large suitcases. The servant's words were so verbose, and Jiang's father knew that Zhang Tiantian not only went back, but also turned over his and Jiang's house. Her precious jewelry was taken away by her. Father Zhang didn't even care about the words, and returned home eagerly. At a glance, not only Jiang's precious jewelry, but even the safe was almost emptied by Zhang Tiantian. After raising such a daughter, Father Zhang really felt that he was angry, and he immediately called the police. In this matter, Jiang's father did not dare to tell his mother, and he could only confuse in front of Zhang Jian. Zhang Jian made no comment. Probably because he was ill, he had a rare daughter, and he still had no chance to take care of his daughter. Zhang's father and mother's affection for Zhang Tiantian had become an indulgence without a limit. This is not surprising at all today. What Zhang Jian is thinking about is song. Within 2 days, the police had brought Zhang Tiantian back. Zhang Jian was completely cold-hearted, and this time he wanted to bring Zhang Tiantian to the end. Of course, he also gave Zhang Tiantian a chance to choose. If Zhang Tiantian is willing to help Zhang Jian with this operation, this matter can be stopped. Zhang Tiantian didn't believe that Father Zhang would really sue her, and she felt fearless. She was the Zhang family. Everything she took belonged to her. She wasn't called stealing, she was taking it. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 731. Zhang Tiantian replied that the smell of gunpowder was so lazy that Zhang Fuding was too lazy to talk, and Father Zhang turned away and left. After being detained in the police station for less than half a month, Zhang Tiantian couldn't bear it anymore. When he saw his father again, he cried and asked his father to let her out. Father Zhang was impatient with her and asked her if she would help Zhang Jian. Zhang Tiantian asked him, "If I help him, what compensation would you give me?" It is sad and ridiculous to talk about money between father and daughter. Although Father Zhang was sad, he felt relieved that there was nothing easier than talking about money. After the matter was settled, Zhang Jian was quickly sent to the operating room. Until this time, Yanj was not found. Zhang Jian did not agree to this operation before, but since the song was lost, he was also very active in the operation. 5 years later. For 5 years, Zhang Jian's recovery after the operation was not smooth. During the first 2 years, he was issued a critical illness notice almost every day. His rejection reaction was too strong, and the body's resistance was inherently poor. After the operation, he didn't pay attention, and any minor problem could kill him. Zhang Tiantian also helped him in this operation, but although the operation was very successful, he did not survive the rejection period. But in this life, he has been boiled for 5 years. What he loves is to find the words. Perhaps the birth daughter is too disappointing, or it may be infected by Zhang Jian. The father and mother Zhang seemed to be very enthusiastic about the search for words. Although the father and mother Zhang had not spoken in front of their sons, they all felt that Yanj could not be trafficked or deceived into any mountain stream. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Yanj to show up, and their tracing notices would not always be a state of sinking. In the past 5 years, Zhang Tiantian would go home and make a mess every time she had no money. After all, she was born by nature. Zhang's father, Zhang mother, was angry with this daughter. Every time Zhang Tiantian returned, she would still pack her some money. Even if his own life was counted by Zhang Tiantian, Zhang Jian had no plans to settle with Zhang Tiantian in the past 5 years. He has been looking for Yanj, and he even participated in the company's affairs with his father Zhang, in order to give him more control over the financial power and use more money to find her. Finding the song was an accident for Zhang Jian. He supported a long-term rescue of the women who lost their feet. When he met the person in charge, he realized that the girl he longed for had grown up into a lady. In the conference room, she was walking towards him with a smile in a gray striped overalls. Zhang Jian stared at her. At that instant, he didn't even breathe. The whole world seemed to be her. There was only her left in her head. Brother Yan Ji screamed in surprise, "It turned out to be you. I didn't expect to meet my brother here." It was really a surprise. Until her voice, he still couldn't return his thoughts. She was laughing, she was talking, but he couldn't hear what she said. In the eyes, only her. Several people came in behind her, all greeting him, and she was talking to him with her head tilted. He kept sighing and turning back afterwards, pinching her shoulders and asking, "Where have you been in the past few years? Where have you been in recent years?" He asked this question over and over for 5 years. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 732. But now, facing the words. Zhang Jian's tongue seemed stiff, and the words he asked were incoherent, because his voice was too trembling and severe. It's exactly like questioning. This is not what he meant. He saw that the smile on her face added a bit of fear after listening to his words, and subconsciously wanted to be gentler and softer. But he seemed to be unable to control his expression, let alone his brain to organize other languages, holding her shoulders tightly with both hands, and repeatedly asking, "Where have you been in the past few years? You have gone where? Brother, brother." Her voice was as soft as before, her hands clenching his palms tightly, gradually calming him down. Only then did he realize that her clothes on her shoulders had been pinched and wrinkled by her, and she was still laughing. "Brother, otherwise, let's find a place to talk." Zhang Jian nodded, and he held her hand tightly. "Go to my office." "Brother, it's hard to meet. There's no atmosphere in your office. Let's go find a place to eat outside and talk as we eat." The proposal was good, but he still felt strange. But the sheer ecstasy she could have before him had wiped him out of her normal thoughts, and even if she looked different from before, he didn't care. Okay, his voice was finally normal. He looked at her, his eyes softened, and he unknowingly echoed her words. That look and the look made those around him feel that maybe even if the song said he was going to jump off the building, maybe he would say good. Zhang Jian was still in a state where he could not eat anything, so the two went to a cafe not far from the company. Yan Ji also made a few calls during the period and went to the bathroom. Even when she went to the bathroom, Zhang Jian stood at the door of the women's toilet and stared at the women's toilet without blinking, fearing that she would disappear again in the blink of an eye. If she hadn't said she couldn't go in, he would have followed in. Yanj ordered the dessert he wanted to eat, so he asked Zhang Jian, "What does my brother want?" Zhang Jian shook his head, "I don't want to eat." He didn't want to eat, drink, distract himself with anything, just stared at her and talked to her. After a pause, she asked her again, "Where are you all these years? Why haven't you been home?" When he questioned, his voice was cautious, for fear of frightening her again. Yan Ji tilted his head slightly and thought for a while. "Sujuki," said, "Brother, don't ask me, I can't think of the previous things." "To you, brother, how is your health now?" She obviously did not want to mention the past. But the more she didn't want to mention it, the more Zhang Jian felt like there was a black hole that could not be filled, the more she wanted to know. "My body is like that," Zhang Jian said. "Why don't you come back to me?" "You. I don't know how to find you." Yan Ji paused, his voice a little aggrieved. "I don't know how to find my brother, I only know that my brother is my brother, and I don't know which two words the brother's name is." Zhang Jian opened his mouth, but was dumb. He taught her so many words, but forgot to teach her, her own name, and his name. He didn't even tell her his cell phone number. It's my brother's fault, I haven't taught you. He felt guilty for a while and wanted to pull her hand to soothe. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 733. It's true that Song has already patted Zhang Jian's back. Do nt you think about it, you are already very good to me, the past things have passed, as long as the brother is fine, right, brother, today I want to introduce you to someone, and he will come over in a moment. Zhang Jian nodded, but didn't take it to heart. How have you been in these years? She was illiterate and had no survival skills. He glanced at her with almost no extra jewelry, and the clothes were not high grade at first glance. How did she come over these years? He couldn't wait to know everything she had experienced in the past 5 years. I started working part-time, and then slowly came to the present, and I'm still working now. Yanj was less worried than Zhang Jian. She smiled mildly, and when looking at Zhang Jian, her eyebrows were full of brilliant joy. Brother, I never expected to see you again, and seeing you are good, I feel really good. This world is still very good. Okay, people like brothers should live 100 years. Su was infected by her warm, sun-like smile, and Zhang Jian's frowned brows gradually stretched out. He immediately stored the mobile phone number of Yanj and added his various social accounts. She was still asking her, what did you do at the beginning? I started as a volunteer, but now I am also a volunteer. This time it wasn't me who came here. The person in charge of the communication was pregnant, so I temporarily replaced it. My brother, I didn't expect to see you. He suddenly felt that the world treated him well. Enan, I'll take you home tonight, Zhang Jian said. You don't have to work outside in the future, I support you. His chest was bulging and he had so many things to tell her. He never wanted her to disappear from his eyes. He took her hand, and after the initial surprise, he became endlessly excited. He said quickly and happily to her, "Anne, you don't know, I had a dream on the day of the operation." Yanj's cell phone rang at this time. She motioned for Zhang Jian to wait and talk, and got up to pick up the phone and walk towards the entrance of the corridor. Zhang Jian followed her step by step. Looking at her neat back as she walked, there was always an illusion that she would disappear from her eyes quickly, and he would reach out and grab her subconsciously. A man came from the corner at this time and smiled and reached out to him. "This is the elder brother, always listening to and talking about you. The elder brother looks really young." Yan Ji put down his phone and introduced it in a timely manner. "Brother, this is Ji Ziwa, it is my husband. Ziwa, this is my brother." "I know, I guess he is your brother as soon as I see him." Ji Ziwa laughed cheerfully. "This man has thick eyebrows and big eyes, and his facial features are particularly distinctive." Zhang Jian did not reach out, and he held Zhang Jian's hand and shook it vigorously. "Thank you very much for taking care of Anan, brother, rest assured, I will be here in the future. There will be no grievance." Zhang Jian's head buzzed. He was almost pushed to the seat by this man named Ji Ziwa. He stared at Yanj, only a moment before he found his thoughts. Are you married?" Without saying a song, Ji Ziwa said, "I and Anan just got married in March this year. Anan has always regretted that my elder brother didn't attend her and my wedding. It's good to see the elder brother this time. I can rest assured." After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gong Wei Pang. Chapter 734. Zhang Jian didn't listen to the man. He stared at Yanj. "Why did you get married so early? Did he force you? How can it be? Anan is so good, how can I force her? I chased her for 2 full years, marrying Anan is the happiest thing in my life. Brother, rest assured, Anan is the boss in our family, only she bullied me. I didn't bully her, in fact she bullied me, and I like it too." The man's voice gave people a feeling of happiness. Zhang Jian's teeth hurt, and he felt that there was no more harsh voice than the voice of the man in front of him. Yan Ji saw Zhang Jian's face was not good. He said quickly, "Brother, don't get me wrong, Ziwa is very nice to others. He is really very good to me. He didn't force me. And I like each other." Ziwa said the words, "Brother, rest assured, and I will definitely live with Mei Mei for a lifetime. I will not lose her." Even though Ziwa has been looking for presents in front of Zhang Jian has not set his sight on him. He stared at Yanj and said, "Go home with me tonight." The voice was serious and harsh. The words were stunned. As he was about to speak, the coffee on Ziwa's hand poured over, and most of it fell on Yanj's skirt. Yan Ji had to go to the bathroom to make clothes. Zhang Jian was going to follow, and Ziwa immediately took his hand. "Brother, speaking, although you are an An's relative, but this is the first time we have met. Come, brother, I toast you a glass. Your body, if we see Ant touch the wine, we will replace it with water." Although Ziwa's voice was warm, he looked at Zhang Jian's eyes full of provocation and warning. The man's momentum was like a wolf and a tiger, and he seemed to be a cheerful person when he smiled, but he was staring at Zhang Jian at the moment, and the momentum was like a hunter staring at his wolf cub. Zhang Jian pressed his lips, stared at him, and slowly sat back in his chair. He said, "Anan is still young. She doesn't understand anything. She can't count on your marriage. What you want, I hear you go, Anan." Ziwa laughed loudly. Although the laughter was bright, he looked at Zhang Jian's eyes full of irony and contempt. "Do you know how I met Anan?" He did not wait for Zhang Jian to answer, and continued, "She killed a man who wanted to abduct her." When he saw Zhang Jian with a shocked face, he continued to laugh and said, "Yes, there is a man named Zhang Xiaodong, and I don't know if you know him. Before that, she also made this man named Zhang Xiaodong maimed. When I met her, she didn't know which 2 words her name was, what her parents' name was, and even her parents' contact phone number. It was obvious that a normal girl was asking everything. I don't know. When I took her to your house, your mother wished she would never show up in front of you again. Although Anan hasn't told me about your family, but I also know about it. To be honest, you big brother, I just called you on an An's face, but don't think that I call you a big brother, you're really An's brother. People like you are not eligible to be An's brother. A lot of things don't know Anan, I hope she can never know. You insist on destroying, even if you have a lot of money, I will follow you to the end. However, if you are really good to her as Anan said, you are the best brother to her. I think you should not do anything bad to Anan. Your mother does not want Anan to appear in front of you. I have the same thoughts as your mother. I do not want your family to disturb Anan again. If you really treat her as a sister, please treat her kindly. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 735. Zhang Jian doesn't know how he got home. He looked at Anan and the man talking and laughing. In the end, the man took Anan on a very inconspicuous Chang'an car. He kept smiling in front of her, and the smile on his face was about to turn into a label. She was sitting in the car, still not forgetting to say goodbye to him, and told him to pay attention to his body and go back early. She smiled so softly and so softly. When she looked at him, she was really kind and intimate, and she really regarded him as the closest person. Waiting until the car she was in disappeared into sight, the smile on his face became a crazy expression like a cry. Mother Zhang is not at home and is doing beauty treatments. Her face has been repaired many times after being burned by Zhang Tiantian, but it is still unnatural, so she is soaking in the beauty shop every day. When Zhang Jian called Mother Zhang was talking to her peers about her children while botaicizing, and she planned to have time to help her to have a blind date. After hearing Zhang Jian's question, she thought for a moment, and said, "Anan? She came to see me a year ago, and I see that she's been fine. There is a man around me who has been taking care of her, thinking of her. Since I'm having a good time outside, there is no need to return to the Zhang family." The father and mother Zhang were well aware of Zhang Jian's thoughts on Zhang'an. Now Zhang Jian is a normal person. They do not want Zhang'an to be their own daughter-in-law. Naturally, they do not want Zhang'an to appear in front of Zhang Jian. Zhang Jian hung up the phone without waiting for Mother Zhang to speak again. The man named Ji Izawa sent him an email during this period. These are two news reports. One is about the one in Ji Izawa's mouth called Zhang Xiaodong. Zhang Xiaodong tried to kidnap Zhang'an, a strong woman, and Zhang'an smashed his third leg into a disability during the resistance. The Zhang family in turn sued Zhang'an for intentionally hurting him. There is also news that Zhang'an and another girl with a mental problem were attempted to be trafficked by a man. When Zhang'an escaped with the girl, he accidentally killed the man. The two short stories were not noticeable at all. Maybe Zhang'an could not see the surrounding area, and he did not know that there would be hundreds of such incidents in one day. However, these two were the only people he cared about. He stared closely at the two reports, and watched them countless times. There were only a few words in the report, but he thought that at that time, she must be very helpless and desperate in that situation. She was a person who couldn't even beat Zhang Tiantian. She wanted to kill the man. It's not something you can do in a few words. No wonder she was unwilling to talk to him about these 5 years. She should have had a hard time in these 5 years. When she needs him, he can't appear by her. Throughout his life, he thought he saw a different hope. But in the end, this hope has become an embarrassing and self-blame despair. Until Zhang Jian's death, he never disturbed the life of Yanj. His body was already almost normal. But a cold caused his physical function to decline rapidly. After lying in the intensive care room for half a month, he failed to survive. He was holding a cell phone and wanted to call her, but the number that he could enter with his eyes closed was not able to dial out eventually. Not disturbing her was the last little love he could give her. He actually wanted to tell her that day. He had a dream. In the dream, she was fond of his emperor. He is the prime minister following her. In the dream, she died because of him, and gave birth to a child belonging to them, a boy who grew up as she wished and was a good emperor. The phone slipped from his hand, he closed his eyes, as if he had entered a dream again, and he and her were lingering on the windowsill on the afternoon of spring day. Anan, I had a dream. In the dream, you are my wife, but afterwards, we will die. Anan, marry me. From now on, I protect you and pet you to guard you. We will never be apart again. Anan, I woke up from my dream and rejoiced. I thought it was a dream, and we wouldn't have life or death like that in a dream. Anan, I'm so glad that I can still see you and speak these words to you. Anan, would you marry me? This time, I will definitely hold you well. Never again will I let you get lost in my life. Anan, I wish you a good life. After my death, the villain blackened again. Author, Ben Gongwei Pang. Chapter 736. Yanj returned to the space of the fans, and was too lazy to ask the chickens to be dark. She first glanced at her chaotic space. There is one more green shoot, and the growth is gratifying. I'm in a good mood, so I don't forget about things in the plain. It was a chicken, and when Yanj opened his eyes, he immediately stepped forward and asked curiously, if there is a billion dangling in front of you, will you be tempted? You still need to ask? It's useless to say a song is 100 million yuan. That thing is a pile of waste paper in her eyes. She just wants her green hair. The chicken sighed, Look at your indifferent expression, you know that you will be 100 million uninterested. Jiwei, our younger sister is a stylish person. What can a billion be able to do? How can you have 2 billion? In the previous plane, Yan Ji lived for a long time, and naturally he knew about Zhang Jian's death. Prior to Zhang Jian's death, Zhang Tiantian had already died because of excessive oral intake. Father Zhang and Mother Zhang are rich and have everything they can buy with money. Because of this, their most important thing in their lives is their children. Although her daughter is a white-eyed wolf, how could she be herself? Even if she could not wait for her to die, she never thought she would die. The daughter's affairs are not finished, and the son is dead. For them, it was a double blow. Such things as human beings are most concerned about being cut off, and that is the pain that is worse than life. The only hope is that Zhang Jian had frozen sperm before his death, but Zhang Jian's only person designated to be able to take this sperm and conceive was Yanj. When Zhang's father, Zhang's mother found Yanj, he almost knelt and begged to give birth to Zhang Jian's son. They are even willing to give most of their family property to Yanj. However, Yanj did not agree. The chicken did not understand the behavior of Yanj. From the beginning, the powerful person was so fierce, why did he say run away, and marry someone, and finally, even the child of the powerful person was unwilling to conceive. Yan Ji didn't intend to explain to the chicken. In the chicken's regretful and painful eyes, she asked, "Is that guy blackened?" "Chicken, I think he should be too dark, but strangely, his blackening value has not changed, and I suspect that the fan system has malfunctioned." Words, oh. This is out of her range. In the new plane, the host is a rich and beautiful little girl. Fell in love with a male star Gu Yufan. In order to make Gu Yufan very popular, the host smashed money and connections, and even after finishing college, he did not continue his studies as planned at home, but was wronged and worked as a little assistant beside Gu Yufan. Her own father is a tycoon in the entertainment industry, and her mother is a daughter of a giant. She was born with such good conditions, but she herself put aside these advantages, only after Gu Yufan ran for tea and water before running, and opened up all the way for Gu Yufan's star road. After she kept fighting for Gu Yufan's resources and throwing money out of her own pocket, Gu Yufan was finally popular. From the 18th line, the incompetent little star turned into a superstar. The host thinks that between himself and Gu Yufan, it can be regarded as the kind of very pure love. She thought Gu Yufan was so good to her and liked her as much as she did. "Chicken, I want to know why the mighty one is not blackened."